Shadows over Saint-Michel. The dawn stretched softly over the sleepy town of Saint-Michel, a hidden jewel tucked between rolling vineyards and ancient stone walls. The sun cast gentle amber hues through the narrow streets, illuminating the worn cobblestones that had been trodden by generations long gone. For Claire Fournier, mornings like this were a quiet promise, a fleeting moment of peace before the day unfurled its inevitable challenges. Claire's apartment was modest but warm, perched on the second floor above the corner bakery, where the scent of fresh baguettes and buttery croissants drifted in through the open windows each morning. The faint hum of early risers and distant church bells created a familiar soundtrack, wrapping the little family in a cocoon of normalcy. She glanced across the room at her son, Lucas, curled beneath a patchwork quilt embroidered with tiny stars. At 4 years old, he was small for his age, with wide, curious eyes that drank in the world as if it were a treasure. His soft breathing was steady, peaceful, a lullaby to Claire's weary heart. Julian was already gone, his battered motorcycle absent from the street below. He worked long hours at the auto repair shop on the edge of town, the only steady income to support their fragile happiness. His hands, rough and stained with grease, carried the weight of their world. But when he came home, his smile, however tired, was the sun breaking through Claire's clouds. For a while, this was enough, but life in Saint-Michel was no fairy tale, and the cracks had begun to show. It started with a cough, a soft, occasional tickle that Lucas brushed away with a stubborn shake of his head. "It's nothing," he insisted, as if willpower alone could keep illness at bay. Claire had worried, but tried not to let it shadow her days. After all, children caught colds all the time, yet nights brought restless hours, with Lucas's cough deepening, rasping against the fragile walls of their home. Each cough echoed like a warning in Claire's chest. One evening, as the sun bled pink and orange beyond the vineyard hills, Claire sat by Lucas's bedside, her fingers tracing the gentle rise and fall of his chest. His eyes fluttered open, glassy and tired. "Mommy," he whispered, voice cracked and weak. "I'm here, mon amour," she said softly, brushing a stray curl from his forehead. His small hand gripped hers with surprising strength. "It hurts, maman." Her breath caught, but she smiled, trying to be brave for him. "I know, darling. We'll see the doctor tomorrow. We'll make it better." But the next day, the doctor's office was quiet, too quiet, and the sterile scent of antiseptic filled the small room. Dr. Lefebvre, a kind but serious man with deep lines carved by years of hard truths, examined Lucas with gentle hands. Claire held her breath as he listened to the boy's lungs. After a long pause, he looked up. "We need more tests," he said carefully. "This is not a simple infection." Claire's world trembled. "What do you mean?" "It could be a chronic condition affecting his lungs," he explained. "We must be thorough. It will require treatment." Treatment. The word felt heavy, foreign. The life they had known, simple, hopeful, shifted beneath her feet. The next weeks became a blur of hospital visits, tests, and whispered fears. Paris was miles away, but had become a second home. Hospitals, with their cold floors and sterile lights, where Lucas lay hooked to machines that hissed and beeped like strange creatures. Claire learned to navigate the maze of doctors and nurses, medications and appointments, all while clutching Lucas's small hand. Julian tried to stay strong, but his once vibrant laughter faded, replaced by grim determination and long silences. The stress carved lines into his face, deepening the shadows under his tired eyes. Money, always scarce, disappeared faster than they could earn. Bills piled up, hospital fees, medicines, transport to Paris. They cut back on everything. No more Sunday cafe visits, no more small treats for Lucas, no warmth beyond necessity. One evening, Claire found Julian at the kitchen table, surrounded by bills and paperwork. His hands trembled as he rubbed his temples. Je ne sais pas comment continuer, he muttered. I don't know how to keep going. Claire sat beside him, her own heart breaking in silence. We will find a way. For Lucas. He shook his head, eyes distant. I'm tired, Claire. So tired. The distance between them grew, invisible but vast. The nights were colder, the silences longer. And then, one night, Julian left. No arguments, no goodbyes, just a note folded neatly on the kitchen counter. I can't do this anymore. I'm sorry. Claire found it with trembling hands. The room spun. She sank to the floor, clutching the paper as tears spilled freely. Lucas, sensing the change, reached out. Mommy, where is Papa? She hugged him close, whispering, he had to go, mon ange. But we have each other. In the silence that followed, Claire felt something fierce ignite inside her, a determination born of love, fear, and a quiet hope that refused to be extinguished. Saint Michel's sun rose again the next day, casting long shadows, but also light. And Claire, with Lucas beside her, faced the uncertain path ahead, alone but unbroken. The morning sun pierced through the thin curtains of Claire's small apartment, casting long beams across the worn wooden floor. The silence in the room was heavy, yet somehow it felt alive, charged with the weight of everything that had happened and everything that was yet to come. Claire sat at the kitchen table, clutching a mug of lukewarm tea, her hands trembling just slightly. Lucas was playing quietly in the corner, his small fingers busy with a faded toy car, the sound of its wheels softly clicking against the floor. The boy's innocence was a fragile shield against the storm that had upended their lives. Julian's note still lay on the counter, a cruel reminder of abandonment. She had read it over and over, each time hoping the words would change, that he would come back and explain, but the silence remained. How will I do this alone? Claire whispered, her voice cracking under the weight of despair and fierce determination. For weeks after Julian left, the apartment felt emptier than it had ever been. The absence of his rough laughter, the missing warmth of his presence at night. It was a hollow space that seemed to stretch endlessly. But Claire was not one to give up. For Lucas, she had to find strength. The hospital visits continued. Lucas's condition demanded constant attention, medications at precise times, therapies, checkups with specialists in Paris. The days were long, the nights longer, but Claire learned to navigate the rhythm of survival. She found work as a cleaner in a nearby cafe, the early mornings blending into late nights. The pay was small, barely covering rent and groceries, let alone medical expenses. Yet every coin earned was a brick in the foundation she was building for her son's future. Sometimes exhaustion nearly crushed her spirit. But when Lucas smiled, when he laughed despite the sickness clawing at his lungs, she remembered why she fought so hard. The people of Saint-Michel, too, showed unexpected kindness. Madame Dupont, the baker downstairs, often slipped Claire a warm loaf or a croissant, refusing payment. The local priest offered quiet prayers and words of comfort. Strangers became lifelines. One chilly autumn afternoon, as leaves tumbled like golden confetti down the narrow streets, Claire found herself sitting on a bench in the town square, Lucas asleep on her lap. The weight of the past months pressed on her chest, but a small spark of hope flickered in her heart. That spark was nurtured by the letter from a charity organization offering support for families like hers. For the first time, Claire felt the possibility of breathing easier, of not carrying the burden alone. But even as help arrived, the scars of abandonment ran deep. Julian's absence was a shadow that haunted every corner of their lives. Lucas asked about his father often, his young mind trying to grasp why the man who once held him so tightly had vanished. Claire answered as best she could, weaving stories of love and promises, carefully shielding her son from the harshest truths. One evening, as the wind howled outside and rain tapped against the window pane, Lucas looked up at his mother with solemn eyes. "Will Papa come back?" he asked softly. Claire swallowed the lump in her throat, forcing a smile. Sometimes people have their own battles, but we are strong, and we have each other. She kissed his forehead, holding him close, and made a silent vow to be both mother and father, protector and guide, no matter what the future held. The months rolled on, seasons changing in a blur of hospital corridors and small triumphs. Lucas's health fluctuated, some days bright with laughter, others shadowed by pain. But Claire remained steadfast. She learned to find beauty in the smallest moments: the warmth of sunlight on a chilly morning, the scent of fresh bread, the sound of Lucas's sleepy "I love you" before bedtime. Through it all, Claire grew, not just as a mother, but as a woman reclaiming her own strength. The hardships forged her into someone who could weather any storm. And though the road ahead was uncertain, she no longer walked it alone. With each step, the shadows receded, and a fragile, fierce hope blossomed, a promise of new beginnings, even in the darkest of times.